was nerve-wracking. I don't know, like, it was nerve-wracking. I didn't know how to just, like, also let me know how the gain is and stuff. But so the class itself wasn't that necessarily difficult. Like on Tuesdays we would like have class, like a random lecture, or like the lecture about like whatever it is, and then on Thursdays we would have like a lab, because we didn't really have a lab for the class, but it was our T would come in and we would practice the skills that we learned on Tuesday, right? So like things like paraphrasing, reflection of feeling, like therapeutic silence, questions, like what kind of questions you need to ask, and basically this all led up to two interviews that we would have to do. The first one was a 30-minute interview with another student. And Loki, I probably have it right here. Hold on. Yeah, so I actually have the entire thing right here. I'm not gonna show too much just because it has some information about my school and my professor, but God, this is so messy. Yeah, so our first interview was 30 minutes, and it was basically like practicing, right? So you would go over like your opening script, you would do informed consent, and like all these things, and then after you would like interview, like it was like a therapy session essentially, right? So your like interviewee would guys, hold on, I apologize, my mom was texting me. But so basically your interviewee would come with certain topics that they wanted to talk about, and they would like talk about the problems, right? And your job as the interviewer, apologies, was to ask, not even, we really weren't supposed to ask questions like for this, the first one, because asking questions, when you ask a question, you have to be very careful, you don't want to ask like somebody like, why do you think this is, because those kinds of questions can come across as accusatory, and can make the interviewee feel defensive, or they might feel attacked, right? And you also don't want to be asking questions that are too leading, right? Like if the interviewee wants to talk about like a certain topic, and then you ask another kind of question that's not what they want to talk about, you lead them away from what they really want to talk about. And just like asking questions is like, it's kind of hard. Like it really is. Like some people think that it's easy, but like coming up with questions on the spot is hard. And you're also not supposed to pry. Like there was something that my interviewee mentioned the second interview, and I wanted to like ask him like, oh, like, as it was kind of tea, and I was like, well, I can't exactly ask him what it is specifically, because that's not what I'm supposed to do, so that was kind of hard. And it's also really hard to like, because I was also interviewed, so like you had to be like open and vulnerable with the interviewer, you had to talk, like I talked about so the first one I talked about like my friendships. Oh my God, there goes the heater. Shoot, I'm so sorry, y'all. I talked about like my friendships. I talked about, hopefully it's interview, it wasn't that that wasn't that hard because it's been snowing in Chicago, so we just talked about the weather. And we go over we introduced informed consent. So thank you again for volunteering for this interview. As you know, this interview is being recorded so that I can review it later and get feedback from my supervisors. Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you? And I'd like to start by reviewing a form that explains what we will be doing here today. Okay, and then we would go over informed consent. And basically, guys, informed consent is just like you need to have informed consent, because like without consent, like you literally can't do anything. Like that's just not how it works, right? So the purpose of this experience is to help me gain interviewing skills. And in order for that to happen, this interview will be recorded so that it can be reviewed by my TA and my professor. So it goes a little like, okay, just to make sure this will be a 45-minute interview, and you understand that at any point, if you wish to withdraw, you can do so without penalty. And this, as mentioned, this is being recorded to be reviewed later, and it will be deleted once the course ends. Nothing mentioned will be mentioned in class. The only thing mentioned will be the interviewing technique, and all copies, as mentioned, will be destroyed. And you understand that everything you say is confidential, with the exception of two things, which include actually I'm not gonna mention that because I don't know if YouTube will allow that, but it's like it has to do with because confidentiality, literally anybody can say anything to you, and you cannot say anything. The only time that you could ever say anything if there's like SA of like a child or an elder, or if your report being suicide, and if you have any more questions, feel free to ask at any point during this interview, or you can contact my course instructor. Right, so it's that, and after that I had to ask questions like what's your name, where do you live, your birthday, and then we speak for the 45 minutes, and then the closing is a little intimidating as well, because I had to kind of ask okay, what do you think was the most important thing that we talked about today? And then I asked them for feedback, and then but it was really nerve-wracking, and I also had to explain what were some of the skills that I used during the interview. So for example, what kind of attending behaviors is kind of just was I nodding my head, was I keeping eye contact, how were many of these skills, did I use validation, or did I use empathy, or did I paraphrase, did I reflect feelings, did I use open and close questions? And look, looking back, I do not think I asked a single question because I was so scared, because the way that I love my professor. My professor is fantastic. Some the people in my class don't like her because she has a really strong personality, but that's exactly why I like her. And honestly, taking this class has really solidified that this is something that I really see myself doing, becoming a therapist. And she's just amazing. She is so clearly passionate about her job, and that makes me passionate about doing this. She would often talk about situations that she would have with her clients. She would never go into full detail every once in a while, because and she would get emotional talking about her clients because she really cared for them. And I think a common misconception that people have of therapists is that therapists are cold, and that they shouldn't show emotions, and that they shouldn't care about their clients. And it's no, that's not. what's the reflection of feeling, right? So it's like, oh yes, I've been having some issues with my schoolwork lately, as I feel like I don't have any time to get work done, and I also feel like I have no free time because of how much schoolwork I had to do. And my job as a therapist would be like, so it kind of sounds like you're overwhelmed and stressed with the fact that you don't have any free time and you're not able to get your work done as much as you used to before, right? So reflection of feeling and paraphrasing are so simple, but the point of them is so that your interviewee knows that you're paying attention, and it's also for the therapist or the interviewer as well to make sure that you understand something. Like, I'll give you an example. In my second interview, which was 45 minutes, there was a point where the person that I was interviewing was like, I paraphrased something, right? So he said something about like an experience, like a trip that he had, and how it made him feel, and I repeated what I understood from it, and he was like, no, it's more than that. It's like blah 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 blah, right? So we do these things so that we, as like interviewers, understand what you're saying, because when we don't understand, that's where it gets wrong, it gets iffy and stuff. Anyways, that class was hard as heck, but I enjoyed it. And then I had my stats class, which was honestly easier than I thought. I took stats in high school. In high school, I barely even passed the class. Okay, why am I lying? I meant to say that I didn't pass the AP exam. And the reason the class was really bad is honestly because the teacher wasn't the best teacher, but he was such a sweet man. I miss him. He actually sent me. Actually, no, I can't show you that because it actually has my address on it. But he sent me a holiday card. My high school stats professor, and it's the sweetest thing. And so yeah, stats was super easy, honestly, because all our exams we had a cheat sheet, and it made it so much easier. But I will say, although the class was easy, I actually had a miserable experience in that class, you guys. I literally almost cried one day. So there's 6 of us at the table, including myself, and 3 of the people are like the quiet ones. Like, they don't really participate, and stuff like that. And the other 2 are the ones that participate more, and the ones that I would talk to more. And at the beginning, we were all a bit shy, so nobody really talked. And obviously, as the semester went going, we obviously talked more and more and more. But I noticed that one of the girls, we'll call her C. She was so condescending, and I mean so condescending, because like she was really smart, right? She was really smart, but she was super condescending, and it was really frustrating because like it would make me feel like shit. Like, it would make me feel really bad. And there was even a time where like the other girl like made a mistake in one of the problems, and C was like that's obviously it. There you go. There it turned out. That's obviously incorrect. Like, I don't know why you would think that. Like just berating this girl because she got the answer wrong. And then the other girl was like, oh my god, like, yeah. And then C was like, are you mad? Why are you mad? Like, I'm just saying the truth. Like, this girl was so condescending. And there was this one specific day where I was like really not in the mood for math. So I was like window shopping, and at the end of every class we had something called ICAs, which is like in-class assignments, where we would do practice problems for the things that we just learned. And on this particular day, they were passing out papers for you to do the assignment, and they passed it to my table, and the 2 girls, so it's C and S, they're the ones that talk, the ones that are talkative, they like grabbed the paper and they hogged it, and I'm sitting there and they're ignoring me, and I literally feel like crap. Like, I feel sad because they literally ignored me this entire time. And then like they're finally done, and they throw the paper in the middle of the table, and I literally almost cried, y'all, because it was such a it felt like it was sitting with a bunch of mean girls. Like, and I even told my friends, like, I don't understand why there's people like this in college. Like, I don't know what their deal is. first I thought I was overreacting, and honestly I still think that I'm overreacting a little bit, but like these girls were the worst. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, as we had a lecture from a TA, and the TA was lecturing, and there was like maybe like 20 minutes of class left, and the S raises her hand, and she's like, just so you know, you have 20 minutes left. And she said that, and I gave her like the biggest stink eye, because I'm like, that is so fucking disrespectful. Like, what the hell do you think you are? Like, if that was a professor, you would not be saying that. I can assure you, she knows how much time she has left, and if she wants to, she can lecture until the class ends. Like, we don't need to leave early. This is her lecture, not yours. And I mean, I was gobsmacked. Like, this girl has no class, no respect. Like, it was disgusting, right? So, hated my table. The only good part about stats was my Friday class, which is 11 to 11:50. It was my lab group. I love my lab group. So I was with this girl. Her name was, we'll call her A, and then this other guy, his name is, we'll call him L. So L actually is an F1 fan. The first day that I met him, he was wearing a Max Verstappen t-shirt, and I was like, oh wow. I am also not a real fan. I'm also an F1 fan, and we instantly like all clicked. And there was even like halfway through the semester, our TA wanted us to switch seats, like switch groups, and I was like, nah, we begged her. Like, no, Claire, please, leave us in our groups. And so we all, like, she made us vote again, so she made us all put our heads down, and she's like, okay, whoever wants to stay in their group, raise your hand. Everybody ended up raising their hand. But yeah, I loved my group, especially A. She is like, she's a diva. I miss her already. I'll talk about more about her later. So the other class that I had was this cultural psychology class. Let me tell y'all, that class was frustrating. The professor she's a sweetheart. Like, you can tell, like, she's a sweet person, but the class lacked structure. We had to do this neighborhood visit paper where basically you had to go visit a neighborhood here in Chicago and write about it like in the cultural perspective, like the cultural lens. An example, I chose a neighborhood, and I could see that it was more of like a collectivistic culture. I could tell it was like more of a collectivistic culture from the things that I could see outside, you know what I mean? That was kind of the point. And the reason that I just hated that assignment was because the assignment was like vague. There was no examples of what she was looking for. Actually, no, never mind. There was an example, but the example was another assignment. So the examples that she showed was a visit to a museum that she did like 2 semesters ago or something like that. And I'm like, oh, that's useless. That's useless to me, because this is about a neighborhood like paper. Like, this is not a museum, okay? And so I hated that. The midterm, I was stressed about the midterm because like, I didn't really pay attention in that class. So when she put out the study guide, I studied my butt off, and I managed to get like a 56 out of 53 because of extra credit. So like, I passed, which was good. I thought I was gonna fail. Everybody in the class thought they were gonna fail, guys. Not even kidding. We have a group meet, and we all just chat about it in there. And now, the most stressful part of the semester was actually the end, of course. We had to do a literature review present the week after. And some girl in our class told our professor that we could all print our presentations, our posters in the art building. And so my friend A, because she was also in that class, she was in my stats class, cultural psychology, in another class, she's like, hey, I heard that the art building is super bad for printing because that's when all the art students are printing their final projects. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. So we're all stressing because apparently it takes a week to print, and at this point it's almost Thursday and I'm supposed to present on Tuesday, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to print this, and I wasn't even done with the presentation. And it turns out that you can't even print the posters because only art students can print them in the art building. And so it created this whole debacle where at the end of the day we didn't even have to print our posters. All that stress for nothing. And so the day of the presentation comes, and the way that they did it was that the TA, because it was like more like a science fair presentation, it wasn't like everybody go up because that would take too much time. There's 40 students, and it was split into 2 days, so 40 students Tuesday, 40 students Thursday, right? So I was luckily I could present Tuesday. So the professor is starting from the back and the TA is starting from the front. At this point, we're like almost 40 minutes in, and each of them had only presented with 5 people, and I was like, yeah, she's not gonna get to us. And I spent that entire hour and 15 minutes sitting there waiting, and finally she comes up to me and she's like, okay, you can't present because we ran out of time, so just give me your name and I'll I'll grade it like in my office. And I was low-key upset because, you guys, I worked so hard on my poster. I spent Saturday and Sunday grinding each day for 6 hours making that poster, and then obviously I was happy because I didn't have to present, but I was also super pissed off because after all that work I didn't have to present. What? So, and there's that. And then I have this other class, psychological testing. That was the easiest class in the world. I don't even need to talk about it. Easiest class in the world. Passing with an A, like no worries. And then I had this resilience class that only met on Thursdays, and let me tell you about that. So the class itself was like super. I enjoyed the class. The professor was also super sweet, and the class itself, it wasn't necessarily boring. We would talk about like resilience, like what is resilience, what impacts resilience, how to be resilient, literally all that. And I loved that because we would have class discussions about like the political climate, everything happening in Chicago. Like if you guys know, like if you guys have been keeping up with everything happening in Chicago within the last like 2-3 months, like it's been hell, and it's been like sad. So we would talk about that, and so we had to do this book club project presentation thing where you would have to pick 4 people, you would have to read a book, and then you would have to make a presentation of some sort about the book. And so I picked this book called What My Bones Know, something, which is basically about complex PTSD, and it's a memoir, and I love the book. I thought it was super like insightful. I don't know, I loved it. It was dark because obviously this is about somebody's trauma, but the part that was so stressful for me was the actual like project, because I remember a specific day where I was telling my friend, like the group that I was with, I'm like, hey guys, I really think we should do a PowerPoint because although it is basic, it is the most convenient. And they're like, no, we should do like a drawing. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And like, they're like, okay, we should meet here, we should meet this day, and I'm like, y'all, like I can't do any of those days. That is why I'm saying that the PowerPoint is the most convenient. And anyways, we ended up doing the PowerPoint, and yeah, that was it. But it was really stressful. It was like a stressful thing, but it's okay. And we had a meeting. Like I told them, like, hey, we should do this meeting, and like they all showed up late except for one other girl, which is like whatever. And the class itself wasn't that bad. And then I had to do a paper for that class, and I located it because like the instructions could not be more unclear. Like not a single clear instruction was provided. Like it was so annoying. Like I don't like when they do that. Like if you're gonna give me instructions, at least make them clear, But yeah, it was guys, it was a semester of